Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. So I am Brandon Combs. I work with Young Life, and you are in this session, How We're Building Bridges with Workday, sponsored by AVAP, our implementation partner. So let me see if this thing works. There we go. That's me. Been on staff with Young Life for about 17 years in various capacities. Safe harbor statement. If you haven't read it by now, you're probably not going to, but it's up there. So safe harbor for Workday and everybody involved. Let's see. This intro slide, so I want to give you a little bit of a scope of Young Life, what we do. Our mission statement right there, introduce adolescents to Jesus Christ, helping them grow in their faith. The bottom line, we build relationships. We love kids, and we go where they are to share the truth. So you'll see some of the stats up there. We rely really heavily on volunteers, 57,000 volunteers. It all depends on how you count it. But right now, that is a huge number, and we could not reach the kids that we do without the help of our volunteers. Ministries in all 50 states and more than 100 countries around the world. You can imagine the complexities that brings, trying to track local payroll laws and compliance. It's huge. 30 summer camps. Many guests. We have camps in about 17 different states and 5 internationally. That's what we're going to talk about today because I work as the finance director for our camping department. We have 5 distinct sections of Young Life, and we take kids to summer camp to share the gospel. So that's what we do. You'll see that we went live July 1st. We actually technically went live a couple weeks early because we had a major system outage that caused us to jump into payroll up to our eyeballs 2 weeks prior to when we expected to do it. And praise God that we had that opportunity. It was amazing to have a backup system and get people paid. So we kept the riots to a minimum by jumping in early. I have a quick video I want you guys to see that helps you understand a little bit about Young Life because, again, we're focused on the camping side today. So we're going to watch this real quick.
In Young Life, we love summer because summer means camping, and we do it like no one else. We build Young Life camps with kids in mind. What do they love? Adventure, laughter, food, friends, and living life to the full. And that's exactly what they get in their week at camp, a time where many will come back proclaiming it as the greatest week of their life. As kids look around at the beauty of God's creation and all we've provided for them, they quickly realize they're in a special place, one built just for them. They'll laugh, sing, shout, and hear about Jesus and the abundant life he offers. After all, he's what camp's about, and of course, what Young Life's all about, too.
All right. Just a quick picture of what we do. So today, I'm just going to walk you through 5 different things that we focused on in the last 18 months, 2 years. To some of us, it feels like a lifetime, trying to configure and get Workday live for various parts of the organization. So 5 fast facts for, well, I guess we'll start with this. So you see the connecting and consolidating systems. I've heard it said that nonprofits in general tend to be about 20 years behind when it comes to technology. And if you're in IT or IS, you might experience the same thing if you're in a nonprofit world. There was a recent study that said only 12% of nonprofits would say that they are digitally mature. And we're definitely in that 12% that is wanting to be there, right? We're not there yet. So there's 7, we're one of those. We came from, if you can roll back with me, and most of you in the room are about the right age, New Kids on the Block had just dissolved. It's 1994. Boys to Men is coming up on the rise. That's when our last ERP was implemented, sometime in the early 90s, okay? It's been about 35 years that we were on that system, and it was time. We had the opportunity because that software was being sunset we had the opportunity to come into something new. We had so many different disparate systems, as this says. We used Salesforce for part of our organization. We had kind of a half-baked HR system. We used some of the old ERP to do that. We really didn't have any great tracking of supervisory organizations. We had just multiple things that we had to bring together. And when you talk about connected data, boy, we weren't there. We could get it connected if you gave us enough time to go to the various places, pull it into a spreadsheet, organize it, and I think I'm seeing a lot of head nods. You know what that life is like. Our accounting hierarchy, if you can picture this, with 5,700 staff in 100 countries, our accounting hierarchy is what we tied everything to. Because back in the 90s, that's the only thing that we had, right? It was the one place that was kind of stable that we could say, well, we're going to build our organization around it. But it created a lot of problems as we got down the road and the mission grew and grew and grew. Having things tied only to your financial hierarchy is not a best practice. So coming into Workday, we have the chance to change that. It's been such a gift. We had several others. We used Concur for expense reporting. So we had to deal with integrations to get information back and forth there. Recruiting, we had a company, Clear Company, maybe some of you are familiar with that. So we have moved a lot of systems into the same ecosystem with Workday, and we're only now seeing some of the potential. For the last couple of months, and any of you all that are there, we're going to be pretty raw. It's hard. Everybody we've talked to at this conference has said the first 6 months are really hard. I'm here to tell you that is true. We also think it's really good. Because when we look into the future, we see some of the benefits, and I'm going to focus on those here in a few minutes. Second one there is rapid time for recruiting. So this is where you start to see some of the benefit. I don't think any of us fully realized when we chose Workday that using their recruiting module would give us the opportunity to reach a wider audience. Now, how does that work? You may or may not be aware that like Indeed.com, Monster, a lot of these, they have those bots that go and scrape job websites, right? Well, when it's configured with Workday Recruiting, that Workday website presents them in such a way that they can be scraped. And it's helping us to reach a wider audience that we didn't know we had the opportunity for. Before, you had to know where to look to see if there was a job available for Young Life. Now, we have the chance to put it to a wide audience, and somebody might be browsing and say, oh man, I remember Young Life. I used to do that. That'd be cool. I didn't know you could work there. They have that kind of job? So we're excited. That's one of the benefits that we see. It's just, again, when we talk about third-party job searches, it can give you a more diverse representation, right? And we're always seeking for that in the mission of Young Life because we're for every kid. So it's neat to have our population of staff represent better the people that we're reaching. That makes sense. We also are really excited about this prospect feature. It's something that we're looking for in the future. You know, we have all those volunteers that you saw, 57,000 volunteers. We see potential. What if we had resumes from those volunteers cataloged, and then we use some of the things we've seen in these sessions this week to go and fetch and retrieve people that might fit a job profile, right? Our pipeline, that's where it begins for us. You have a kid that's being reached, maybe they become a volunteer, and then maybe one day they become staff. Workday's going to help us get there. We're excited about that. The next one there, you see visibility victories. So again, with disparate systems, one of the number one complaints that we would get from a national headquarters standpoint is, how many places do I have to go? I'm just looking for one simple thing. And my password's not working, so who do I talk to and where do I go? I know you're familiar with this. When we consolidated systems into one place, the opportunity to log into one spot to look at your own payroll, to look at your team's payroll, to look at your team's time off, it has changed the game. That's just one spot that visibility is helping. I love the PTO request when I jump in there and I don't have to remember or go put it on my calendar. My team's right there. Oh, that's right. That's why he didn't answer my email. He's off today. Reimbursements, the invoice and expense, the career planning, that we have visibility across the entire mission. We used to live in a world where if you met somebody, and with Young Life, 5,700 staff, you might meet somebody and you find out where they're doing ministry, but you can't remember and you don't know how to get connected again. That sweet Workday search feature, all you need is a name. If you can get that name, you can figure out who they are, where they work, who their boss is, what might be potential for them to switch departments or come to another opportunity in the mission where we need help. You can get there, and we love that. So that's really a visibility victory. A big one for us is this cost center members and time tracking. Like with cost center members, as a finance guy, I love the ability to be able to see where someone's paid from with all these various departments in the mission. So we have over 3,000 cost centers because the way Young Life works, there's a lot of buckets and a lot of fundraising and folks that have a specific scope of responsibility, and so we bucket those in cost centers. Well, it can be crazy to figure out who and what and where things are coming from. So the visibility for cost centers is awesome. The personnel changes and spend authorizations, the fact that it has all that system tracking, for Young Life, that's been revolutionary. We don't have to be in the dark anymore. Where is that sitting? Why is that being held up? And, has that change been made? We have the chance to go and see. And you know who to pick up the phone and call and maybe light a fire if you need help to move something through, right? So that's been sweet. Okay, those are some of the upcoming things. You know, we look out in the future and we say, man, they're really going to change the way we do business around the world. These last two are a little bit of a, well, how do we get there? How did we get there? The training triumphs, that was a big deal. And specific to Young Life camping, you know, we had help from AVAP and a couple other consultants. We have an internal training department. But for camping specifically, we just know our user base. We have about 500 staff. Depends on the season. We have a lot more in the summertime. And we knew that if we didn't get in there early, help them understand what was about to happen, that their world is going to change, and if they want to pay their vendors, they need to pay attention. So the training triumphs started with setting up a training tenant, and AVAP helped us do that. You know, we had a training tenant that was live early on. Our team spent some significant time investing in that tenant, and it was a little sticky because it was a lot of time. I remember sitting with some of our friends, Emily Miner in particular, and saying, man, are we really going to spend the next 4 days investing in a tenant that's going to disappear? But because we did, we built trust with our end user. Does that make sense? The fact that when they logged into a training tenant, they saw real data that was not confusing, and it was because of the time investment that they could trust it, even though they don't have any idea that, well, this is going to go away, I don't understand. They already think they're in the live system kind of thing, no matter how many times you tell them. But that was a huge win. We did gain access early on. We set up a really robust training plan. And if you are out there and you have not yet gone live, I'm telling you, I know it's hard depending on your culture, but you need to require some trainings. We had required trainings. We had multiple time slots, and we recorded what we did. We had great step-by-step guides that were PDF if you need that via email, you know, every avenue that you can. Post them on our internal websites. Make it clear, easy, icons, click here if you don't know what to do. Guided people through that, but because they were required, when we finally got to go live, people weren't surprised. They felt familiar. They had already been in. Oh, you're telling me to check my payroll. I know how to do that. I trained on that with a video, and then they told me to go do it, and I had a training tenant, so I logged in, and I actually did it. So I get it. When we finally got to that go live moment, that was huge. We also, which I think this was fun, we had a team, which is this last one that we'll talk about here, SMEs for the win. SMEs is subject matter experts, right? We had a team of about 10 to 12 subject matter experts that on launch day, this is kind of that final training piece, on launch day at July 1, we had actually deployed them to different camps around the mission. So we had people flying to different states, and they were on site so that we could build relationship and then have that physical presence. It reminds me of the difference in Chick-fil-A and Popeyes. Popeyes has a little thing where you push the buttons and then someone brings your order, but you don't get to talk to somebody. But at Chick-fil-A, they walk up and they say, "How can I help you? I'm here." Well, that's what we did at launch day. And I think it's incredible what trust that it built. We spent a lot of time meeting with people that we didn't yet know, but we set up time slots throughout the day. And folks, I got lots and lots of feedback afterwards that our entire team, that it had just meant so much to inspire confidence in their ability to use the system. And those things pay big dividends, because when they realize that you're on their side, they will trust the system even if it's still broken and needs a lot of work. So that's huge. Along that SME line, we had various work streams for the project, and AVAP helped us with that on what were the appropriate types, because we went live with finance, HCM, a little bit later we had adaptive. We kind of had a full court press, lots of different modules coming in at one time. You think about invoice expense, foundation data model. We did the projects. We had recruiting, payroll, time and absence. Change management was a huge work stream that, with 5,700 staff that think that Workday entirely is just paperwork for them, change management was a really important role. Data integrations, because we still have various databases that had to come together, right, to feed and interface. All of those work streams had a subject matter expert on it. And for the camping department, we decided, hey, early on, we're going to invest a lot of people and a lot of time, a blitz in the beginning that we hope will pay dividends long term. And I'm here to tell you that's the way to go, because we get to the go live date and we have the chance to not only have a product that is better organized, configured, kind of, I know Workday doesn't like the term customized, but all of the pieces in place that really represented our boots on the ground, the people that work at Young Life camps, they have a way that they like to do things, right? We were able to really represent them well and then configure it to their need. So then when you get to go live, all of that team, 10, 12 people, had built trust, and they all have networks of folks that they interface with on a regular basis. Those people trusted in a way that was a little bit rare. So we're really grateful for that. Then they were also a big part of the testing phase, the SMEs were, and that helped them gain confidence and buy-in that the system was going to be good, even if it's hard as you go. One other thing I would highlight about the SMEs that I thought was pretty cool is we utilized them when we got to go live. We set up and this was mission-wide, we had a great kind of setup for service hours and had extended service hours so that the moment we go live and we're asking people to check their pay stubs and make sure that things are in place, we had folks that were not around the clock but kind of close, because we're in all the time zones. So early mornings to late nights, we had people that if they called, they'd get an answer. We had specific defined routing for the questions that would come up so that we could get them to the right people and point them to a resource that can get something resolved. So that was a big deal. The service pathway, I guess is what we would call it. So again, in review, I know it's fast because we only had 20 minutes, but it's been such a gift because we connected and consolidated systems. We see that it's going to widen our pipeline, right? That entry for all of those folks that may one day be on staff is going to help widen that pipeline, that rapid recruiting. Visibility victories, it's connected. We can get where we need to go quickly. The other one I think about there is just the financial side. I love that you can drill through, that you can start with a financial statement and you can get all the way back to a receipt. That's pretty cool when you're a numbers dude. Training triumphs, you heard some of the things that eased our pain as we come into a new system. And then that blitz of some people that really know what they're doing early on. It's a gift. So if you find yourself at whatever spot in the journey, if you've already bought Workday, you're thinking about it, you should come and talk to us. I'm over at the AVAP booth. Stumping for them a little bit because I'm grateful they gave us the chance to talk about our journey. And as a global nonprofit, man, I feel like we're just dipping our toes in the water. as to what we'll see. We had a great conversation earlier at lunch about there's that 1 year, that 2 year, then that 5 year mark, and we really want to be at the 5 year where everything is shucking and jiving and we have new data and can make better decisions based on that information. We're not there yet. We're in that first 2-3 months where, you start working out and the pain is hard, but we see where it's going to go. So that's all I got. I would love to answer any questions you have as we wrap up. And the AVAT booth is just right back here. It's just a couple of rows back, and love to talk to you. They were a great partner for us to help us make it happen. So thanks.